Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Joined, back at the full crew together, got the Iowa boys with me, Mark Ostrander, Grant Turner. Before we get to wrestling, we got to talk about the wedding and probably more importantly, the golf. So I would like to lie and say that I was a very valuable member of the team. However, Grant, I was not. I tried to do some statistical analysis. I believe we used, of the 18 tee shots, we used 17 from Mark or Chuck. I believe of the 18 approach shots, we used 16 from Mark or Chuck. And of the 18 putts, I believe we used 17s of Mark or Chuck. Basically, I had two good approaches, one putt, and GT, it was so bad. I started putting right-handed on the back nine and actually made a putt. I putted better right-handed than left-handed. So, listen, people may have whatever opinion they have about me, but I am not lying. It was awful. So,
We've all been there.
And you look not surprised at all, which is the worst.
Well, I'm not surprised at your game, but I'm not surprised. We've all been there. I mean, there's been multiple times where I've wanted to walk off on the course on like hole 13. I'm like, listen, guys, the clubhouse is right there. I played like trash. Like, just let me go grab a hot dog and sit down for a bit. Let me just take some me time.
Well, let me set the table and then flip it over to Mark. First of all, we played Cog Hill. Mark will remember the name. There's 4 courses there. We played the best course. His son, Ben, I think there was 26 guys playing, comped everything, paid for hot dogs, beers, the whole 9. Storniolo played with us. It was basically a bunch of wrestling people, and I'm guessing some lawyers or some other people that Ben is friends with. I played with Mark and Chuck. We were the second group off. And Mark, this part is true. I think we took second place, correct?
We tied for second, but I said we beat him in a playoff.
No, right. We won. If you go by any
polls, yes, we beat him.
Yeah, so we took second.
500.
So, am I lying, Mark, or are those statistics fairly accurate?
Pretty accurate. Your best club is your wedge. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. You do pretty well with it. Even around the green, you hit some decent chips. They just weren't quite close enough. I mean, we played a lot more than you have, David. So, I mean, that's part of the scenario. Grant, we did not get a play from the senior tees. I was a little disappointed. So we're in long drive contest.
There's no lefty tees. There's no Asian tees. There's none. There's none of that, man. Like,
oh my gosh!
If you've never played Cog Hill, play it. It's a phenomenal course. The people treat you really well. Great practice facilities. It was just a really fun experience seeing all Ben's friends, all of his groomsmen were there. Family was there. Cousins were there. So it was a lot of fun. And the wedding was phenomenal. He's on his honeymoon right now. So they put on a really nice event.
Yep. The rehearsal thing was I wouldn't call it a rehearsal dinner. Basically, he rented out the bar where he took his now wife on their first date, and was super cool. Just a neighborhood bar. Just really, I would just say this, besides including me in the golf, it was really well done. I'll just say that. And nobody bats 1,000. So if he'll just change that, the next time he's running an event, I won't play golf and it'll be perfect. So, but it was awesome. Facility was awesome. Food was awesome. Everything was awesome. And there was a lot of Iowans there, Grant. A lot of Iowans there, and took over Chicago for the weekend. So we always wonder what we're going to talk about, and stuff always comes up. Let's start with a guy that I know pretty well. Todd Beckerman left Brown, and so that's an opening. And they're a really good program, super high-level academic program. They've had success. They've had All-Americans. And one of only 70-something Division I head coaching jobs in the country. Be interesting to see how that gets filled. At one point, Mike Ironman was going to be their RTC coach. So they think they're committed to obviously trying to do some things in the freestyle and Greco-Roman season. So just putting that on the radar because it kind of slid under it for some people. The next thing, which I think also may have slid under the radar, is McKendree has 12 female wrestlers in the portal. I'm sure that did not slide by the radar of the Grandview University coaching staff. But that is a direct result of Sam Schmitz leaving and going to Central Methodist, which is a couple hours away. And McKendree's got a really, really good girls or women's wrestling team. A bunch of them are on the ladder nationally. So GT, obviously just from the Nike hat, the non-Grandview hat, there's some really talented wrestlers in the portal, correct?
Yeah, and I think that, it's directly correlated to the guy that basically was their coach and also recruited them. You would see this at basically any other program where they have a strong tie to the head coach that brought them in. They're probably going to have a lot more turnover, depending upon who does come in and then how well they try to have some retention there.
Right. So the next thing that's on the radar is Gabe Arnold, who was at Wyoming Seminary as an Iowa recruit. Him and his dad were kind enough to let me break that story. Announced on Twitter he's transferring to Iowa City West. So Mark, basically just lounge around all day and don't do anything. Your job is not demanding at all. So you'll have a lot of time to probably see Gabe Arnold wrestle next year, right?
Yeah, I'll see him at the state tournament if he qualifies. Tough tournament.
If he qualifies.
It's tough to get there.
Do we want to set odds? I got wings for
probably
all
not. Iowa City's a great program. Mark Ryland was the head coach there for a long time. He's no longer with us or coaching, obviously, but he had retired like a year earlier. So 2 years ago, I think he retired. So they do a great job with the kids. They'll have a good team next year. I think they had a teammate of his that's also going to Iowa.
Colby Franklin.
So, that may be the avenue he wanted to follow Franklin out there, and they must have talked and said, yeah, you're going to get really good coaching here. So,
well, it also, if he moves, probably helps him get in-state residency, which then allows him to get in-state tuition, which then allows Iowa to, assuming, let's say he was on a full ride, actually pay less money for that full ride. Yep. Obviously, Oklahoma State and some other schools, we've seen that happen with kids going to Stillwater and stuff like that. So that is news. On the front of USA Wrestling people transferring to high school now to college, and a person that's actually sat in my corner and been on the podcast, Gary Mayab goes from the developmental director of the Greco-Roman program, which was basically the Kevin Jackson, now James Green job on the Greco side. Went back to his alma mater, coaching alma mater, Oak Park in Kansas City, had a state champion this year. Shout out Paul Hernandez. And now gets hired as the assistant coach at the University of Iowa's women's team with Carissa Chun. So we talked about this right before we went on the air. I will play devil's advocate. He hasn't coached a lot of freestyle, hasn't officially coached a lot of women, and has done a ton in Greco. GT, tell me why this is a great hire.
In my opinion, the connection between Chun and Gary being both at USA Wrestling at the same time, there's a good level of trust there. I think also you don't need two Clarissa Chuns. You need a person that is very organized, which I know Gary Mayab has Excel folders that are tabbed and color-coded to just discuss how organized he is.
Let's hear it for color-coded Google Sheets and Excel documents.
1,000%. But I think what I feel that Gary brings to the table, probably more so than a lot of other candidates, is that his developmental position as both a high school coach, knowing how to develop athletes, knowing the international style and rules of international wrestling. Even though he was more primarily on the Greco side, I'm a freestyle guy. I still know the Greco rules. Like, I still can probably coach Greco pretty well. But I think Chun needs somebody like Gary to help run the program at that level. I mean, everybody knows who Clarissa Chun is. She's going to be able to do a lot of the recruiting. She's already been part of that developmental process, along with like USA Wrestling and, you know, Steiner and Jess and everybody else over at USA Wrestling. So I think that Gary will be a beneficial partner to the university to help with the, let's say, the bureaucracy of Division I athletics, you know, the scheduling, the travel, the transit. I think
salary cap, you know, 9.9 management. I would think he's probably going to be really a big part of that.
Yeah, and I just think that, as well as you've known, as being a Missouri and Midwest guy, Gary can bring kids along.
Oh,
you know, like the developmental part of, let's say, even women's wrestling, you're taking a lot of athletes that are 1 to 2 to 3 years into the sport, maybe not at the University of Iowa, but still, I mean, women's wrestling is still at a lot of state levels or at its infancy. You know, just getting sanctioned and all of that kind of stuff. So the developmental process of getting athletes to understand basics of freestyle as they move forward, I think you definitely need somebody like that to help with the program.
Yeah, I'll say this piece and then flip it over to Mark. I think everybody who loves wrestling and everybody who thinks they're a good coach thinks they're really good for that 2 to 3 hours a day in the room, whether it's, you know, at a time or the one-on-ones. You know, I know if I was training again, I could be coached by either one of you guys and get better. And I also feel like I'm a pretty good coach. It's the other 21 hours of the day that a lot of people are not that good in terms of fundraising, in terms of like literally like salary cap manager, like a fantasy football league. Like, okay, well, if we recruit Grant, then he's going to cost X, and then it's going to be harder to get Mark or David, but then he comes off the books because he's 2 years older. You know, all that scheduling, you know, literally putting all this stuff, frankly, the grunt work that people don't want to do. And, you know, that's stuff that I did a lot for Merrimack's team. I've done a lot running my events. It's not a very glamorous part of the job, but it's what makes things successful. You know, Grant, when we work in the official Border Brawl Nike capacity, that's all it is we're going through spreadsheets and making sure everything's right. And I'm sure you work with people that are super organized and super disorganized. And I certainly wouldn't ask for names, but I'm sure you prefer to work with the organized people. And Gary Mabb would be at the top of that list. So, Mark, they bring another world-class coach to Iowa. That's exciting, right?
Yeah, I think I think Grant hit it on the nose when he was talking about what this guy brings to the table. I'm going to kind of go to the other side. I still think she's going to have to bring in another 1 or 2 coaches. She has to have somebody on the mat to compete with these girls, obviously, because David, as well as we know, and Grant, I'm sure you know this, you get 30 women in a wrestling room that are different levels skill-wise. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have somebody out there that can wrestle with these ladies every single day to get them where they need to be. I don't know if the hire that they just hired is that type of person. I think he's behind the scenes. I think he's going to do some great things. He may be a really good recruiter. He's got a great personality. People trust him. Obviously, she trusts him or she wouldn't have brought him in. So that's important. But you need people in the room to be in the mat because she cannot do it all by herself.
Those are all great points. Like if I look at Grandview as an example, and I'll take me as the outside looking in, Nick Mitchell's the leader of the tribe, right? But he relies on the Paul Reedys of the world. He relies on the Grant Hendersons of the world. He relies on the Grant Turners of the world on all those different things. Like, hey, Ben Lee needs help with this. Grant Turner, go work out with him. Hey, Grant Henderson, who do you know that's in the transfer portal to at least get the conversation started? You know, Paul Reedy called me about a guy the other day. Like, just let's get some background on this person, you know, those kind of things. So it isn't division of labor like Mark, you're going to do X, Grant, you're going to do Y, and David's going to do Z. There's X, Y, and Z, and we all got to get it done. We're going to assign certain things, but there's going to be overlap. And we all got to pitch in, and we all got to be willing to do the less than glamorous part of it. And scouring the portal is not necessarily glamorous, but necessary. Organizing the stuff is necessary. But your point about Gary probably not getting on the mat 2 hours a day is probably more than fair. I think he's obviously still in great shape, especially for a guy his age. Definitely can show technique. He's not going to be like in a wheelchair or something. He's the opposite of that, still working out all the time. But a couple more people that can scrap. And again, they have a 2-person staff right now. They're allowed a head coach, a couple of assistant coaches, a recruiting coordinator, a graduate assistant. I mean, a partridge in a pear tree. Like they're building their staff. But it's the same way they're doing with the recruiting class. They have 9.9. They're not spending it all on the class of 2022. Because then you're hoping somebody falls out to get somebody from the class of 23, 24, 25. So, they have 9, maybe they spent, or 10, they spent 4. Maybe they spent 5. Kind of depends on how many of those girls they think can be world class. So if you get, somebody that's at the top of the ladder, like right behind an Adeline Gray, that's a generational kind of person. You go get that person. So anyway, so congratulations. I have a bunch of good news up there for you guys. So World Team Trials, let's talk about that. I am going to attempt to share a tab here. We'll see how that goes. Here we go. All right. So we've got all 30 weights here. So let's just review again. I think I did this right. GT or Mark, you guys can correct me. Next to the weight class, if somebody is sitting at Final X, I have their name there. So, for example, at 57, Gilman, 50, Hildebrandt, and 50 in Greco, nobody's sitting. Okay, and this should be 55, right? This isn't 50, or is this 50, GT? Can't be 50. The Greco weight's 55, not 50, right?
Yeah, it's 55 kg. It'd be that the women's is 50.
Yeah, okay. So let's do this. Let's go through at least the 2 freestyles, because I know we probably know more about that. Let's pick at the weights. There's somebody already sitting who's going to get to Final X, and then the weights where nobody's sitting, the 2 people are going to get to Final X. So we'll just do this as a rotation. The best golfer of the group can go first. Mark, who do you got coming out at 57 to take on Gilman out of that crew right there?
I think it's going to be Vito.
Okay, I'm going to start writing these down, see if there's a lot of discrepancies. Our usual wing bet is on this. We got Mark, GT, me, 57. Mark's got Vito. GT, I assume that you will pick Aiden Reeves, but I will disqualify that pick as he is from your club, and you can make a second choice.
Right, exactly. This is like the Guinness Book of World Records. Every single first place is Chuck Norris, and then everything else is an asterisk after that.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick Vito as well.
I will too. I do think it's interesting. Vito, assuming Greg Diakomahalis would win his, I guess, pigtail or prelim match, they would meet up in the quarterfinals. This is just a weird bracket, and so people need to understand this. And Grant, correct me if this explanation is wrong. The winner of the U.S. Open was the automatic number 1 seed, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. That's what it looks like. Okay. So we did Mark first here. GT, who you got coming out here? This is a firecracker weight.
Yeah, Nico looked really good at the Open.
Yep.
I think he's a beast. If he wrestles like he did at the Open, I would take him. So, he just looks so good, man. Like back to his good form.
Yeah. Constant motion, really smart.
Yeah, he just looked outrageously good.
Yep.
Once again, happy to see him back on the mat and wrestling at a very high level. I know, injuries and everything like that can, derail a career, but I'm happy to see him back and wrestling really well.
So is he your pick?
Yep.
All right. I don't like his draw for being the 1 seed. He's probably going to have, he has Shelton Mack, which isn't a great, and that's not a fun draw. And then he's going to get, I would guess, Seth Gross, but maybe Mendez. I'm going to take Tyler Graff just to do something different. I think his path is maybe a little bit easier to the finals. So, although I think if Nico makes the finals, he'd probably beat Graf. Mark?
And I'm going to go with Seth Gross.
All right, there we go. Okay, 65. You're making 2 picks here. I will go first. What an awesome weight. And I will take, hold on a second here. I'm going to take, well, we just had Maple on. I got to take him. I'm just going to go top 2, Maple and Yanni, and I cannot wait to see that match. So, Mark, you're next.
I'm going to go Nick Lee, and I'm going to take, boy, McKenna looked good. He is so jacked up right now. I'm going to go Nick Lee versus Joey McKenna.
Okay. GT.
I'm going to take Maple and McKenna.
All right. This is good. We don't have all the same picks. Okay, Mark, you go first here at 70. Another pretty awesome weight when Tyler Berger is the 8 seed and Sammy Sasso is the 7. So, Mark, you're first. Who you got?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go with Pantaleo against Ryan Deacon. I think Ryan Deacon is the best guy in this weight.
Okay. This is the weight class formerly known as James Greenland. So the King. Who you got here, GT?
I'll take Pantaleo and Jo.
I am going to echo your picks there, GT. I'm going Pantaleo and Jo. All right, 74. Grant is first. The winner gets to Dake. I think we're going to agree here, but go ahead. GT.
I'm going to take Nolf.
You just
and
pick
Gant.
one. You just pick one. Because
Oh, yeah,
just
because we're going up against Dake. Yeah, I'll take Nolf. But I think Nolf and Gant make finals. So I'll go a little extra.
There you go. I'm going to take Nolf, although I'm super intrigued to watch Nolf wrestle David Carr. Mark, is it a clean sweep at 74?
It's only wings, right?
Yeah, it's only wings, and I'd buy anyway.
I'm going to take David Carr.
All right.
And carrots and celery.
He's proven it before.
Ranch and blue cheese, the whole thing. I think I'm paying off tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure I am. So, all right, 79. Is it my turn to go first here?
Sure.
So this is fascinating. Like, I'm gonna take Ringer. Mark, who you got?
Oh man. I'm gonna take Starachi because he said he's the baddest man on the planet. And until somebody beats him, I'm gonna have to agree with him.
Okay. That would be my finalist pick, like what GT did at 74. GT, if you want, you can do 2. We obviously the winner gets the king. So,
well, I'm taking Ringer.
Okay. Okay. All right. 86. Mark, you're first.
Taking David Taylor.
No, he's already in the finals.
I know, but that's who I want to take.
So before hold on. Is Pat Downey going to enter in this? Because it does affect the matchups if he pulls out or isn't in, correct?
He's signed up for it, David. He hasn't been down to 86 kilos in some time. You may see him at 92 kilos. That would not surprise me.
So GT, can he do that? Can he enter at a different weight class?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
As long as he doesn't go down. I think you can always go up.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, Marco, who you got?
I'm going to say Valencia wins this way.
GT?
I'll take Zahid.
Yeah, a clean sweep there. Okay.
Even though, Mark looked good, though.
Yeah, Mark, you look good. Okay. GT, you're first here. Winner gets Jaden. Interesting bracket. I know who I'm picking. Who you got?
I'll take Nate Jackson.
Yeah, me too.
Me 3.
Okay.
Not the strongest weight in the tournament.
One of the strongest weights for our country, but correct. Yeah. All right. So I go first here, 97. I'm going to take Colin Moore. Mark,
Colin Moore.
GT.
I'll take Machiavello just to change it up.
Spice it up. All right. And then 125. So we picked 2 here, correct?
Correct.
Mark, you're first.
I'm going to take Zilmer, and I'm going to have him wrestling Big Tony.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
There
There's
we
the
go.
mark.
There we
Yeah.
go. First name Tony. First name Mark is back.
I
All
call Big is his first name, Tony.
No, but
Middle name.
your first name Mark. Everybody's first name to you. All right. GT, who you got?
I'm gonna take Zilmer and Gwiz. I want to pick Don Bradley so bad, but Zilmer's just had his number like the past 5 matches. And it's always almost the exact same thing. Like Dom's beating him, Zilmer wins. Like literally almost every single time that they've wrestled.
Yeah, there's always shot clock points in there too. So before I make my pick, do you guys think Kyvan Gadsden is a factor at a weight this big? I mean, like he's pretty athletic. Do you think he can cause some problems?
Yep.
Yes.
All right,
You know who else could cause some problems is Jordan Wood at 9.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
All right, I'm going to go Dom and Gadsden.
There you go.
Way off the reservation. All right. Okay. So now we're going to do women's. This is the fact that I'm recording everything, you guys know I already won. That's a done deal. So, all right. So GT, you got to help me here. I went through this. I think I got it right. Hildebrand is sitting, right?
Yes.
Okay. You got the first pick here. Who you got?
I'm gonna take I'm gonna go completely wild. I'll go
Again, and you can't pick pick Velez. Like that, we know that's your real pick. So go ahead.
oh yeah, I can't take bias, right? Of course. All right, I'm gonna take I'll go back. I'm gonna take Golson.
Okay. I'm next here. Am I crazy to pick Emily Shilson? GT?
No.
Or I mean, it's either her or Lampy. I'm thinking. I'm going to take Lampy.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
David,
This is in the wrong order. Hold on. This guy, because I cut and pasted this. Give me a second here. Okay. So Lampy's the 2. I'm going to take Lampy. All right. Mark.
I'm also gonna go with Lampy.
Okay. All right. 53. I'm first here. Nobody's sitting, correct? GT?
At 53, no.
Okay. Not a lot of numbers here. Don Parrish just won Pan Am's. I'm going to take her and Rana. And I only have to pick, I just picked the 2 finalists, correct?
Yep.
Mark.
I'm gonna take Taylor
Okay.
and Heaton.
Okay.
I don't know how Villascusa's knee is. I believe she got hurt at the Open. So that's the only reason I'll take Rana on the one side and Felicity on the top.
Okay. So you and Mark are the same there. All right. Mark, you go first here at 55. We're picking 1. We got Burkett in the finals. I think we know who. Or let me just speed this up. Is anybody not picking Jakara?
No.
Nope.
Okay. All right. 57. Sorry you lost your pick to going first there, Mark. 57. GT's first. Maroulis is sitting. Who you got?
I'm gonna take Urine.
Okay. I feel like GT is going to mop us up in this one. I'm just going to wimp out and take urine too. Who you got, Mark?
I don't know. I'm going to take the number 1 seed. I've never seen her wrestle, but.
All right. You're riding with number 1.
Is she pretty good, Grant?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So now we're at the 59. We picked 2 here. My pick. I'll take Estrella and Nettie. I'll just go chalk. Mark.
I'm going to go Estrella and Beck.
GT.
Estrella and Beck. I mean, Nettie has wrestled really well since she's gone to the WCAP. I haven't seen Michaela wrestle in a while, so those are epic battles between those two.
All right. 62. Mark, you're only picking 1 here.
Guilty.
GT.
I'll take Jen.
You're taking Rogers?
Yep.
All right, I'll take Kilty. Okay, 65. Forrest is sitting. GT, you're first.
Bruntel.
All right, I'm sure you're right, but I'm going to take Velty just to pick somebody different because I feel like I'm just cheating off your paper. Mark, what you got?
I'm going to go with Emma.
First name Mark's got Emma. Okay.
Yep.
All right. 68. I'm going to take Boyd. Mark.
I'm going to go with McGee coming out of the bottom.
What? Yeah, just okay. GT.
I'll take
You can't take Cantillo.
Piracy.
Okay, Pearson. Okay. All right. 72. We're picking 2 here, right? We're not sitting, right? No one's
Correct.
sitting. All right, and I went 4 first there. So Mark, you pick.
I'll take the number 1 and the number 2 seed.
Okay. GT.
Yep, Skylar and Emmett.
Yeah, I agree. And then 76, which Gray, she just can't make weight right now because of babies. So we're picking 2. GT, you're first.
I'm going to take Diamond and yeah, I'll take Precious.
Yeah, I'm going top 2. Same thing, Mark.
Yep.
All right, we got time to do Greco. Okay, here we go. Mark, GT.
This ought to be good. Wow.
What?
I'm going to pick Colton Schultz.
And all the weights. Okay.
I'm taking Coons at 55. So I got to pick 2 here?
You have to pick 2 at every weight but Hancock's weight.
Okay. Coons and Max.
1 and 2. Gotcha.
Yep.
GT.
I'll take Nowry and I'll take Jacason Burks.
Dominguez is going to love you.
Hey, I got to give him a shout out.
Got to give him a shout out. I'm going to go Nowry and I'll go Duffield. Okay. 60. Or GT, you're first.
I'll take Roberts and Ildar.
Yeah, same here.
Well, you 2 know about Greco, so I'm going to just say what you guys said. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Coons and Miranda are both extremely talented at that weight. Yeah, I mean those 4 people it's just beat up each other all the time. It's such a great combative weight class. It's really good if you guys get a chance to watch that weight.
Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna take Jones and Thilke, GT. Or I mean Mark.
Same.
GT.
Yeah, I'll take Sammy and Thilke.
Mark, you're turning Grant into first name Grant. So there you go.
Love it.
Okay. 67. Mark, you're first, so you can't cheat off Grant's paper. You got to make a pick.
I'm going to take Lenny off the bottom.
First name Lenny. Okay, go ahead.
I've seen him wrestle, and he's pretty impressive.
Okay.
And I'm gonna take the number 1 seed. I can't pronounce
Sancho.
Alejandro.
Alejandro Sancho.
Sancho. All right. Who you got, GT?
I'm gonna take Peyton O'Mania and Nutter.
You just picked 2 different guys just to tick me off, Grant. I want to act like I know what I'm doing.
Hey, Peyton O'Mania was the previous world team member.
Yeah.
I mean, Sancho was our Olympian. Merkin he's been at Greco forever. He's a journeyman. Like he'll beat anybody at any time. And Nutter is I believe U23 world team member for the past couple of years.
So it's
I got Sancho and Nutter if anybody cares.
Perfect.
Grant, you're first at 72.
Pat Smith, Benji Peak.
Yeah.
The most electrifying man in Greco-Roman wrestling in the U.S. today, Benji Peak.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, you're just going to agree with this, I assume?
No, I'm going to take Smith and I'm going to take Hooker.
Okay.
I like the name.
I mean, no one should sleep on Jamel Johnson, though. That man has a nasty lift.
Yes. All right, so I go first here. I'm going to go Rayvon and Kamal. Mark?
That sounds like a good pick.
Rayvon
wrestled for Ellsworth, didn't he, David?
He wrestled for Iowa Lakes.
It wasn't Ellsworth?
No. It was not. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
It was.
I believe his brother wrestled for Ellsworth.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Okay. Well, his brother was pretty good too, though.
The Devon.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, who you got, GT?
I'm going to take Rayvon and Kamal.
Okay. All right, now I feel really good about that pick. If nothing else, I can't lose anything because we all picked the same thing. All right. So, GT.
He gets to pick Ben.
No. He's picking the Bens.
Yeah. Once again, this is the Guinness Book of World Records. I have to take both my guys. So Provisor and Bentley.
Yeah, you're going there for sure. Mark, who you got?
I got Proviso, and I'm going to take
Proviso. You just dropped the R. I love it. Go ahead.
Provisor. I'm going to take that Cunningham. He's really come on. I think he's got a shot making the finals.
All right. I'm taking Provisor and Woods. Okay.
Great picks.
Although I do want Ben Lee to be my bodyguard or just like a commercial or something. I love that guy's like perfect. So,
oh yeah,
all right.
He's great.
All right. I don't even know whose turn it is. GT, you can go first here since you were talked into a pick. 87. Who you got?
I'm gonna take Allen and Sykes.
Okay. I'll take Allen and Young or Vera and Young.
I'm going to take Allen and Timothy. Yeah.
Timothy. That's the Key and Peele pro.
Only one here, David. Only one guy.
Only one guy. So I'm going first. I am going to take Mark's guy just to tick him off and take Amos. Who you got, Mark?
I'm taking Amos.
Okay. All right. GT.
I'm gonna take Nick Boykin.
That's probably the smart pick. Okay. And then all right. I ran out of room here, but we'll get it on here.
By the way, those top three guys right there, Boykin, Amos, and Sheridan, they're all monsters. So you could not have gone wrong with any of those top three picks. I mean, I don't know if Kimba has registered for the event yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. 1:30. We'll let the elder statesman go first here. Who you got, Mark?
Schultz, and I'm going to take Farmer.
GT.
Schultz and Farmer.
Yeah, we'll just do chalk. That's fine. All the same. All right, GT. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing. So, last thing to talk about, I think we'll probably go with a press release, but well, first of all, I do to go circle back to the beginning, Mark. I want to thank your brother. He was a lot of fun and put up with a lot of dumb jokes and made a lot of good. Basically, all the good shots you didn't hit, he hit. So, and apparently he actually watches and listens to the podcast, so that's nice too. So, I have been hired as the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic Tournament Director. And so we are putting together the best 16 teams in the country to come to Stillwater, Oklahoma, the Wednesday and Thursday in December, right before Christmas. There are certain states that cannot come because of travel, specifically Indiana. And we went to the top 50 list. Ohio can only go to a non-contiguous state one time a year. So that hurt us with one of the schools we were trying to get. Michigan is not allowed to travel. Iowa is not allowed to travel. Minnesota is not allowed to travel. So that knocked about, there's of the top 50 teams, that knocked out 12 of them right there. But right now we have 4 of the top 8, and we have 9 of the top 33 teams. Really cool event. If anybody is watching or listening to this and thinks that they have a team worthy of consideration, please get a hold of me. It's pretty easy. Just spell my name on any of the social media platforms and you can find me, or email USA Wrestling and they'll send you to me. It's a 2-day event. It'll be 5 duels, be 4 pools of 4. Day 1, though, basically we're going to try to do as close as we can to seeding, along with separating schools from like the national prep schools and schools from the same state. And then day 2 will be a gold, silver, bronze, copper. And then big shout to the Hall of Fame. They're going to do a tour of Gallagher Iba Arena, which even you Iowa guys would admit that, along with Carver Hawkeye and maybe a few other places, is one of the iconic places to wrestle. And also going to do a tour of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and actually provide dinner for the teams on that second night. So really a cool event that they're doing. Really proud to be a part of that. And it's been really fun talking to a bunch of the high school coaches from around the country. Big shout out to Leroy Smith, the director of the hall, of the Oklahoma Hall. I know there's the Dan Gable Museum too, so don't mean to slight that in any way. Ed Gallegos, who's a big part of this, and then Ethan Kyle, the Stillwater coach. He's been dividing the calls up with me. So we started on this, basically got hired like a week and a half ago, and we've already got, I think, 10 teams committed. So it's to the credit to the event they're putting on, and the credit of not being afraid to pick up the phone and the networking. I'm probably more excited about this than you guys are, but does it sound pretty cool?
Yeah, anytime that you can bring high school kids to, the Hall of Fame, where they can see all of that history and lineage of what wrestling is, I'm always a huge fan of. I know that, a lot of people that come to preseason or postseason nationals up in Cedar Falls they stop by the Dan Gable Wrestling Museum as well. If you don't put that on your list, please do so. Being able to go see the International Wrestling Hall of Fame down in Stillwater, it is a treat to go. And once again, all of that history there for all these kids is really cool. So I'm excited for them to be a part of that, and then also get a chance to wrestle inside, one of the classic venues of college wrestling is always a very cool thing to do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
I agree with you, Grant. I was lucky enough to do Beat the Streets in Chicago with David one year, and we did play-by-play. And it was one of the funner events I've ever been part of. So this is even going to be bigger than that. So, David, I'm sure you'll do a great job getting it put together. And for fans, it's so much fun to watch these young kids wrestle right now. They're so talented. Get out there and support them, because a bunch of them are going to be wrestling in the college level when they're done. So nice to watch them when they're young.
Yeah, that was fun, Mark. That weekend we did that together. And this is really an extension of that. It's the Beat the Streets thing kind of got COVIDed, and we tried to take it to Kansas City, and then that got COVIDed. And then you guys both know I've been working on a national duels thing for a while, and then literally was contacted by Ethan and Leroy, and like it was just like kismet. I mean, I've known Ethan since he was 14 years old. His older brother actually wrestled for us at Merrimack. So great relationship with their family. Shout out to Alex and to Big Ed. And, I've known Leroy for years, and my family's actually friends with Ed Gallegos. And so it was a blessing. It's a blessing to be a part of this and to help put this together, and just, the small lane that I have. But you guys will probably be hearing more about it. I think we'll have the field filled out in a couple weeks, and, they'll do a press release and all that kind of stuff. But we're excited. I mean, it's, over half the field full. And like I said, in less than 2 weeks, we're recording this on Thursday. And, we told their board we would try to get 4 teams a week. And we're already at, like I said, I think we'll be at 10 at the end of this week. We're at 9 right now. So it's a pretty cool thing to be a part of. And I know I'm pretty sure I know who our streaming partner is, but I'll wait till that's finalized. But people that can't travel wise with the holidays, maybe be able to make it to Stillwater, they'll be able to watch it. We know that's a crazy time of the year for a lot of people. I know I'm going to do a lot of Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve, but that's probably actually not that new for me. See if Amazon can one day deliver. And then shout out to Alex Steen down there. He's going to help me with it. And I spoke to Hardell Moore as well. And, Mark, you get some time off, you're always welcome to jump on the mic with us for sure. It's one of the more fun things that doing that kind of stuff is really fun. So anyway, next week we will review World Team Trials and set the table for the 2 Final X's because they're really not that far away, right? GT, the first Final X is, I think, 2 weeks from today, correct?
Yep, I believe June 4th or June 3rd in Stillwater, and then June 8th in Madison Square.
Yeah, so awesome stuff. I mean, it's sometimes I think the college season is easier to commentate about or to do observations on because, you just kind of can pick this, the top stuff. There's so much age group stuff going on here with everything else, so it's always exciting. And it's, I will say this to close, Mark, you got a lot of nice friends up there that said a lot of nice things to me and I'm sure to you about the podcast. And I think all 3 of us have been able to reach more people. And I think that's a direct result of USA Wrestling. They have concentrated real effort into marketing us. So I want to thank Mike and Joe and now Gary for putting us up, for getting us on Apple, for getting us on Google, for getting us on Spotify, for putting us in the email, for putting us on the YouTube channel, for putting us on the mat.com. I don't think we're actually doing better content than we were at the previous place. I think we're getting better support. I will say this. I think we're doing better content when we added Grant. Mark, I think you and I will both agree that the 3 of us are way better than just you and I doing it, especially in the summer months. GT, you've been a huge asset to us, both in terms of knowledge and hopefully trying to keep us a little younger and keeping us honest. And but I think we all, and I won't speak for you guys if you want to say something. It's nice when you hear people saying, hey, I watch, I listen. That's a direct result of the efforts that USA Wrestling has put in. So thank you, Rich, Gary, all those guys. If you guys want to say anything before we sign up, feel free about that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. USA Wrestling's a great company to work for. We get out there. I've talked to a lot of people that listen to our podcast. Most of them listen to it because Grant's on it now. I just want to be honest. But I mean, I'm pretty old, so I'm really kind of back in the old school. But I see how the sport has changed. David, you're kind of right in the middle. You've seen it change, and you're doing so many other things. Stay involved, and then Grant is the change. I mean, he's going through the change with all these kids right now in the school. So, I mean, I think it works for us. So,
yeah, I think USA Wrestling is the premier organization in the land, and once again, being able to work with the people that we work with at USA Wrestling is nothing short of amazing. They're just great to work with, and the promotion of the pod and of Dave and Mark's efforts. It was a very easy transition for me to be a part of what you guys have already created. And I'm very blessed to be able to have that opportunity. And with so many people that love wrestling in the United States and love wrestling outside of the United States, I think it's really cool that we get to talk about it on a weekly basis and at least roundtable a lot of things that are already happening at wrestling rooms and restaurants and living rooms all over the country. So hopefully, we continue to do a good job for USA Wrestling and keep us around, and really looking forward to the journey.
For sure. So thank you, Gary. Thank you, Rich. Thank you for all the people that have trusted us. We're doing our best to hold up our end. And I probably don't say this enough. Thanks to all the people that watch and listen. There's, basically the entire set of groomsmen were super complimentary. They watch because of Mark GT, not you or me, but that's fair. So I mean, like, he put them all in a headlock at one point or another this weekend. So
Who did?
So
No.
GT, I will pay off the wings bet tomorrow night when I see you in Coralville. I'm actually in such a good mood. If you want it to be a steak, we can do a steak. You just tell me. All right.
We can discuss that for sure.
Okay.
Take this, Grant. Take the steak. Seriously,
Take
Take-
this.
a ribeye, a nice big thick ribeye.
Perfect.
Hit me up with that $50 bill, man. Okay. All right. For Mark and Grant, I'm David. Thank you for watching, listening, and sharing. See y'all next week.